So every time we have a masterclass, I always ask to students, what do you want to do if I find your image in a magazine on a page? And of course, the answer is I want you to stop and look at the image. So if I look at the image for a couple of seconds and then I flip the page, it's not that great. But if I stay on that, for like, I don't know, 10 seconds, that, is a great result. Now, that will basically translate into this. How can I stop you and force you to look at my image? Well, that is not an easy task, and of course we are there. We are here for to understand what's the best way to force someone to look into our image. Of course, there's many ways to do that, but it should be a natural thing. Okay, just putting a red dot in the center of your image, it doesn't work. Okay, the thing is, through photographic rules and through some tricks, we can guide the viewer where we want. But first of all, it's important to understand one thing. We are creatures of habits. Okay, we are used to something, and when we repeat over and over and over the same action, we repeat it in the same way. And when it's about reading an image or reading a book or watching anything, a mechanism of repetition kicks in. And the thing is, if you are looking at an image, then it's the same action of reading a book, and that depends on about where you live, where you were born, or sometimes it depends on, I don't know, the language you speak or the region you live in. So if you, like me, read and write, especially write, from left to right, from top to bottom, then it's the same when you look at an image. You will start from the left top area, and probably your eyes will go down to the bottom right part of it. And that's because I read and I write in this way. Okay, I write from top left to bottom right. But during this 10 years, we had some students that used to write the other way, from right to left, and or top to bottom, in like columns. And it's about this. It's about your habit on writing that force you to that lead to the way you look at things, at images, or text. And so the same image could be pleasant for someone, but not for someone else. Okay, so one thing you need to know is where your clients come from and what is their habits to about writing. This is no joke. This is real. I remember years ago we did a test with, we had some students coming from an Arab country, and they were writing from right to left, so the opposite of what I do. And I take an image, and it was pleasant to me, it was nice to me, and then I flip it, and they like it more, because it's a matter of habits. Okay, so when is about, let's say that this is the starting point. Okay, so let's say my client is, like me, is writing from left to right. So I know where we are going to start looking at an image, where we enter the image. Okay, and where, of course, we are more comfortable to go out of the image. Okay. But let's take this example. This is a very old image, like 11 years ago. A client called us, said, okay, can we have a free image, a test image to see if you are good enough to do this job? So, okay, the image was about a fireplace, and this company produced very designed fireplace, with minimal shapes, and fireplace that doesn't look like fireplaces. Okay, so I say, okay, I know what is the focus of the image is the fireplace, but I want to kind of force the user, the viewer, to stay on the fireplace. Now, you cannot force someone to stay on something because, if they get used to that image, to that portion of the image, then they get bored, and they understand they don't want to look at that image anymore. So the idea is to create a sort of loop in the image, a sort of path, like a journey, right? And there is a starting point of the journey, and there is an ending point of the journey. But probably these two points, the starting point and the ending point, will match. Okay, and then you can start over and probably stay on the image for a couple of seconds more, and that would be great. Okay, so my idea was like, okay, let's say that this is the right page of a magazine, and we have this box, which is basically a fireplace, and there is fire inside, and so on. And how can we deal with this? It's okay. First of all, if you are watching, if you're reading a magazine, you are flipping pages, like, one after the other, and I don't want people to lose the to flip a page and lose the fireplace. So the first thing is that, okay, we start from here, because our habit is to start reading from the left, and so I started from here. So okay, let's have a fireplace immediately inside the image. That's it. Boom. And how can I emphasize? How can I force the viewer to look at the fireplace? Well, there's many ways. For example, we can create a lot of strong contrast, and luckily, the fireplace was made of a very dark bluish metal. It's okay. Let's put this dark box in front of a white, light gray wall, and let's have a light bouncing on the side. So I can create a very strong contrast here, and we are attracted by that, by contrast and by light. And so it's okay. This is for sure. You are going to look at the image and you're going to see the fireplace, no matter what. And then, I was very lucky because the fireplace is a rectangle anyway, is a perfect shape, and we love to recognize perfect shapes. And so, I was very happy about it. And then, as you can see, we have this kind of repetition. The fireplace is kind of, it's made of different tiles, and so we have this 4 equal tiles, and that's another good thing because our brain loves to make connections. So if you can have the same kind of things many times, it would be great. And as you can see, this vertical lines brings you down, and then we have fire inside, and there's kind of a dark glass in front of this fire, but anyway, it's fire. At the end of the day, you're going to look at fire because it's red, because it's something, dangerous, but at the same time, could be cozy, and, you love it, staying in front, being in front of a fireplace. So is a very eye-catchy thing. So I couldn't be more lucky than this. But then the problem is, okay, and now what? Now, if I look at the fireplace, I see the fireplace, I see the fire, I like it, then what? My attention will basically go to zero because, I get it. That there's nothing more that will, interest me. So what to do? From here, the eyes will probably go down because this is my habit, okay? And then my idea was, okay, since the client asked for a John Posen style architecture, I will put a wood step here with some light beneath, and this will work as an arrow. It will work as a pushing object. You see, is a tip of an arrow and is pushing upwards. And you basically follow light, okay? And this will push me on the right. And on the right, we have exactly the opposite. We have shadows, right? And there's like a couple of boxes, a couple of wood boxes, which are seats. And this corner is completely in shadow. And when you see dark areas, when your brain recognize black, values, is like pushing it away. It's like, stopping it from going there. Is the same reason why if you add a black band on top and on the bottom of an image, it immediately looks better. It looks better because it forces us to stay inside the image, and also because it reminds us a little bit like movie theaters. And, we all love to go to the movie theater. And so we have this kind of connection, and we immediately love the image a little bit more. And for the same reason in SOA, when we have, good clients and we print out images on photographic paper, we attach them on black cardboard. And so, you have this image, which is nice, and there's a black border all around, which helps you to look into the image anyway. So this, and by the way, think about if you are in front of a two doors, and two rooms, and one is with the lights on and one is completely pitch black. I mean, you would probably go for the room with lights on, okay? Except probably if you are Batman, but this is another story. And so this area here will basically bounce the eyes, and you're not going to, go there because anyway, there's nothing to see there. So you are not attracted by this corner. And then we have stairs there. And what happens when you see stairs? Your brain goes, okay, let's go upstairs. So you see, this is a very, simple trick that forces you to follow a path that I put in front of you. Even if I'm not telling you to go there, you will go there anyway. And then you go up, okay? And this is, a sort of, let's say, this trick about the stairs, we can find it even somewhere else, okay? Even like when you have trees on the border of your image, on the sides of your image. Let's see if I can find, this like this one. You see, this is the same thing. If you flip the image 90 degrees anti-clockwise, you will see that these lines are like steps of a stair, okay? And you have the big one, and you have, this, and the smaller one, a smaller one, a smaller one, a smaller, and you follow, and you are forced to follow these basically, rotated stairs, I would say, okay? So you go up, and then, there's here, Now, if I had to do this image again after 10 years, probably I would put something here. I don't know, a couple of painting, I don't know, a couple of photos hanging on the wall. But anyway, here we have an opening on the ceiling and we have some light kicking in and pushing you back on the fireplace. And so the loop is done, even if, I mean, now I take this example because it's a very strong loop, but you can have a pretty less strong, loop. It's just a suggestion. Is not. It shouldn't be on a perfect zero. Okay, but if you force the viewer to go back on the main character of the story, is nice. And so this is the trick. This is the trick. And this was the final image. Even if, I mean, it's not that great, okay, they were pretty happy and it worked. And you have some space here to put some text, maybe, because it's an advertising anyway, so you would need some text probably. But this is the idea. And it was a free image, so I had like 8 hours to just sketch the idea, modeling, texturing it, rendering it, post-production. That's it. So it was work for free. We don't do that anymore now. But it's a successful example of planning and working and finalizing an image. And of course you want to emphasize, so the post-production, if you have an idea, right, you need to emphasize the idea, which means that if you have a render of this image, then you want to make this part a little bit brighter probably and have a very strong contrast here. Maybe you want to make this a little bit brighter. Maybe you want to make this part a little bit darker. You want, this to point exactly here. So I don't know, you make a little bit of glow and you do everything you can to push your initial idea to the final stage. And by the way, in post-production here, I made something to help my idea, which is, I mean, this is a question I ask everybody every time, and probably I get only one good answer in 10 years. There's one element in this image that is vital to for the loop to exist. And long story short, the very important small part of this image that make it works is this small bright area here. And why that? Because if you look, you see, it was part of this tip of an arrow from the beginning. And this tip is made of with a gradients, not with objects. So you see, this is basically a gradient that goes from very bright to dark. And this is just an example. You can use gradients if you want to, push the eyes and follow. And of course, there is a little bit of brightness here on the stairs to say, okay, look at there, please, for a milliseconds, and follow the guidelines. So I mean, this is a very old example, but we can see the same results even if we look at images from the courses, and this is the strongest probably example of them all. And you have, it doesn't matter if you start from here or you here. So this image, the nice thing about this image is that works for probably everyone, because it doesn't matter if your habits are, to write from right to left or to left to right, you get into the loop anyway. And you see it basically goes like this, and then you have the tree and boom, you go back on the top. And this is one of the reasons why this image is very appealing. And of course, even because there is a lot of contrast, you see, one part is in shadow, one part is in light. And in this way, in this part here, one part is in shadow, one part is in light. As I told you, this dark area push you in because, it's dark. There's nothing to look at. And it's just a way to say, nothing cool here. Go ahead, go forth and look at something more interesting, probably. And some images, don't need any loop, for example. Okay, so like this one is like this, and it push you on there, and then you'll stay there because it's amazing how this airport looks like. But even in this one, if you want to find a loop, you can see at this shape here, and the fact that this image is a mirrored image is you see it basically is a vertical mirror, but it's not a perfect mirror. Is there's this airplane on the left that breaks the these effects, and it will help you to balance the image a little bit better. When I say balance the image better, it means that if your habits are that you write left to right, top to bottom, then that means that if you start looking at the image from the left and you go on the right, you naturally will go to the right anyway. So if I have something here on the left, is basically like, balancing this natural movement you will do anyway. Okay, so this is why it's important to know about the loop and about the habits you have when you look at images. So long story short, try to understand if in your image you can have a sort of loop, and you can maybe you can create it with the building itself. Maybe you can create it with elements of, I don't know, nature elements, light, shadows, people. But anyway, it's very important to try to force the viewer where you want. Okay, and sometimes just someone looking into another direction, it's enough, because as you can see here, the building is like going to the right. You see, this is a very dark area, so it's like the starting point, and then you have windows, and then you have this rectangle. But this is like pointing to the right if you look if you look better. And there's many elements that on the other way push you back on the left, like this mountain here, like this foreground, like the girl looking on the top left. You see, nothing is random. It's like a funnel, with this area going on the right and this area going to the left. Nothing more than that. Okay, and if you plan these things ahead, if you plan this image plan, I would say, before you actually spend too much time on 3ds Max, it will be great, because you will end the image without effort, without surprises, without mistakes, because you are solving the mistakes from the beginning.